there. Today is September the 11th, and I decided to do that particularly in regards to the last few days, that powerful spell of intense solar flares, which were really out of the ordinary, as we are basically in a solar minimum. So this was a very exceptional spell, and I see there's a deep message in it, and I want to share that with you. So yeah, in general, I mean, these are very intense times. That's for sure, I guess. We all agree on that. And there's lots of fear porn, I would say, out there. And that was really the main reason for me to do this and shed some light on what I can see and provide a little bit more of an upbeat picture. Well, it's been 2 weeks now, pretty much since the total solar eclipse, and this was the first full moon after the eclipse, and yeah, boy, that was an intense one. Well, full moons are the blossoming of the new moon energy, so we could expect that really to happen, that this full moon would be exceptional, and it was actually really showing up also astrologically, but let's get to that in a minute. So yes, between September 5 and September 10, we had 4 X-class flares, which are very large flares, and over 20 M-class flares, which are huge flares as such. And if anything, these flares, those solar bursts, were punching up the energy levels to quite a degree. Because the sun is not really a static ball of fire, as we ordinarily might think, but rather an infinitely alive and dynamic fiery organism. The sun is a conscious being. It is highly intelligent, representing divine logos. Earth and all the planets have been born out of the sun. We are born out of the sun as being children of this earth. We are branches and leaves that have spread out from the sun. We are in deep resonance with its life-giving source. And we are an expression of that logos. Hence, the sun responds to our quests, provides us with what we need in order to evolve. And at times, the sun helps us to take leaps and expand our consciousness. And that's where we're at, as we will see as we proceed. Hello. Okay, so whatever happens at the core of the sun will vibrate and spread throughout and within our being, through every cell and nerve. It is interesting, as an astrologer, I can tell you the sun acted up exactly at the right moment to choose up the energy in a very particular way and giving our consciousness a boost. Indeed, these enormous outbursts were heralds of some extraordinary events which are coming in the next months, I would say. They act as a catalyst also for our awakening. It's always, solar flares happen at very important moments in history. For example, we had huge flares, just so you know, a day prior to 9/11 on September 10, 2001. And also there was a strong, unexpected flare on March 10th, 2011, just one day prior to the Fukushima earthquake and meltdown. So we can certainly ask, were these flares preparing us for what's about to occur? Or could it be that the sun is picking up on some pressure wave emerging from the collective unconscious, kind of helping us to brace for something very difficult, kind of manifesting our collective precognition. And yes, that is actually the Heart Math Institute has done a very interesting experiment which reveals that our heart actually knows what's going to happen before it happens. So the experiment was they were wiring the person and then on a computer screen showing random images, very nice ones, interspersed with very emotionally charged and difficult pictures. And the computer would decide, it was absolutely on random mode. However, about 6 seconds before the picture would show up on the screen, there was an emotional reaction emerging from the heart, and that was very predictive of what kind of picture would come. There would be kind of a panic, bracing, if the picture would be emotionally upsetting. So anyway, my thought was maybe that's exactly what's happening with strong solar flares too. That the sun is kind of resonating with what's going on in the depth of the collective unconscious, and maybe those outbursts of energy are getting us truly ready for what's about to emerge. So yes, I mean, we now just have these terrible hurricanes, and there was an 8.2 earthquake affecting Mexico. And really, I mean, tragedies are awakening something within us humans. Our heart gets activated when we see others needing our support. And we start empathizing, get ready to go an extra mile and help one another. So there's lots of compassion which is set free through those difficult events. And yes, so even such dark and difficult occurrences, even those have a deep meaning within the larger picture of transformation, because they reveal shadows and they allow us to integrate those. And guess what? We are about ready to do that. We are really getting to that place where we have the strength and astrology shows it, as we will see in a minute. So solar flares have multiple meanings, if you want. They could be also kind of an alarm clock which is going off. And they give us the choice to get up and get out of bed and fully wake up. Or we just can roll over and go back to sleep. So anyway, let's get into the astrological picture here, which really is exceptional, as you will see, of what's going on right now. This full moon particularly being, as I said, the first one really bringing that solar eclipse energy into manifestation, as solar eclipses particularly are seed events. It's always in the course of the following months and sometimes even years that these energies will come to flowering, come to full expression. So the full moon following the eclipse is really the first one to carry that manifesting energy. And here we go. So I was last week already, when I was looking at the alignments, I was expecting something really big to occur. I mean, just a day prior to full moon, Mercury turned direct, and guess where? At 28-25 Leo, just half a degree short of where the solar eclipse took place, which was 28 degrees 52 Leo. So Mercury had been retracting for 3 weeks. The eclipse actually happened during that time of Mercury retrograde, which was interesting in itself, because the retrograde Mercury helps to review, to resolve old things, old stories, old issues, and I guess that's really where we have to put our energy to get any further from where we are, to first resolve shadows and difficult things, and come to full acknowledgement what has been going on, so that Mercury retrograde made total sense. So anyway, a day before that full moon on September 5, Mercury turned direct, and just hours prior, Mars had changed signs into Virgo, which is Mercury's sign, which means Mars empowers Mercury now for the next 7 weeks into October 22nd. And just a little side note on that, I mean, Mars was in Leo before, and we had all these forest fires. The whole west of the North American continent was really burning. We had hundreds and hundreds of forest fires here in Canada and on the west coast. Mars in Leo, well, that's a very fiery placement, and it was the sun also in Leo, which doesn't happen every year, that Mars is in Leo during that same time when we have the height of summer. So this in itself might explain a bit these extreme fires we were dealing with. And now as Mars is in Virgo, we can expect, and I guess it's already happening, starting, that rains are coming in and the situations are getting less tense. Anyway, so Mars being Mercury sign for the next 7 weeks will definitely help the application of our mental powers, methodological, analytical, critical, scrutinizing. Well, Mercury also, particularly with that help from Mars, on the other side we will see a surge in more propaganda to try to escalate energies. But it seems overall the storylines are pushed to such degrees that they are getting rather grotesque, and that's what I'm expecting, that really one would have to be utterly blind and completely mind programmed to not start waking up and begin suspecting that we're being fooled. So yes, I expect that whole construct of lies to seriously start falling apart. Now, on another level, that's another system I'm using, is the Mayan calendar, the dream spell. And it so happened that on September 5, the dream spell entered the wave of the snake, the 13th day of snake energy. And this is also the first of 4 13-day periods in the blue western castle. Now the whole round of the Solkin of the Mayan calendar is 260 days. It's divided into 5 castles of 52 days. The first is the red eastern, then the white northern. Now with the snake wave, we've entered the blue western castle, which is about the transformation of the light. This is a time of intense interaction. Energies are naturally outgoing. It's easy to come together with others, to join and relate, inspire each other, and in that togetherness of pooling our energies, new gates are showing up. So, as said, the snake energy started on the 5th of September, and Chikchan, which is the Mayan name for this energy, reconnects us with the survival, our survival instincts and our intuition. Conflicts and adverse circumstances offer the perfect opportunities to reconnect with our inborn gut wisdom. So here we go. Again, perfect timing of all these events. So when big solar flares happen, naturally, first we look at heliocentric alignments. We want to see what makes the sun act that way, and it is the energies the sun receives from different planets which are expressing through those solar flares. It's kind of, there is a particular taste And if we look at the heliocentric alignments, we can see what that taste is. So that very first moment when the sun bursts, that's really the one which generates the X-ray flash, which bombards Earth with high radiation, creates what's called radio blackouts, sometimes for hours. And it is that enormous boost of energy which charges our Earth's auric field and our personal fields. We start vibrating, resonating. It's an unrest which is created, but the content of that energy we can see from the alignments the planets have with the sun. So let's have a peek at that. So Earth and Neptune were in the same place as seen from the sun, which means it's a very receptive, highly impressive moment, particularly for Earth. And there's a potential transition from confusion to clarity implied in this alignment of Earth and Neptune. Then there's a few really big ones. Saturn at present is exactly aligned with the galactic center as seen from the sun. Most exact it was on September 9, but Saturn moves very slowly. So for that whole time, last week, this week, next week, Saturn still is extremely strongly aligned to the galactic center. Now, what does that mean? The galactic center is the central sun. It is the higher octave, the spiritual goal, if you want, where we're evolving towards to become galactic citizens. So Saturn at that place is helping us to sober up, to touch down on reality, to embrace responsibility, to do our homework, to get real, overcome addictions, and take major steps to what truly matters. Now, Saturn in general is for the whole 2017 in close proximity of the galactic center. So all these meanings are true for the whole year, but most particularly so for this moment when the sun was flashing the last few days. That was the energy which was pervade. What helped or supported that Saturn energy I was just describing was the opposition by Venus, again heliocentrically, and actually forming a grand square with Chiron or Chiron in Pisces and opposed by Vesta. So healing is implied and a strong spiritual orientation, Vesta, of serving the greater good. Venus being socially responsible and stepping into maturity. Okay, now then there was something else really interesting. Mercury moves very fast as seen from the sun. Mercury moves once around the whole sun in 88 days. It's the innermost planet. So it was or is highly interesting that Mercury was closely aligned on them now, focusing on that most powerful flare, the 9.3, which was released on the 6th of September at high noon and 2 minutes in Greenwich. And we will look at this chart in a minute, because this again is highly meaningful. Anyway, let's just now first look at the heliocentric, where Mercury was closely aligned with Eris, E-R-I-S, that newly found planet in 2002 discovered. We will get to that in a second. And Mercury was not only aligned with Eris, but also with Pallas, Athene, one of the major asteroids, and a strong approaching Uranus, which just is still a few degrees ahead of that very tight conjunction Mercury had with Pallas and Eris. So Eris is a very important energy all through 2017, as well as it forms 3 opposition to Jupiter. And actually the third of these oppositions, 2 were earlier this year in January, I guess, and in April or something. And now the third one was exact on September the 9th. So again, really within a day or so of that exact alignment, here in the heliocentric, we have Mercury, Pallas, and Eris coming together. So Eris is the shaker, challenges and breaks systems open, pushes us to the edge, awakens something really positive if we allow to go with it. Eris was the one which challenged the whole planetary order, because after it was discovered, astronomers found that Eris was slightly larger than Pluto, just slightly. That was enough to throw the whole planetary order into chaos and have the astronomers gather, meet, and discuss, and finally dethrone Pluto. It was a big, big thing in the astronomical and astrological world. It upset many, many people that Pluto was no more called a planet, but it made total sense, because Pluto is so much smaller than all the other planets compared to Neptune, Uranus, Saturn, Jupiter, who all are in the 40,000 to 150,000 kilometers in diameter. Pluto is a mere 2,000 kilometers smaller than Earth's moon. Anyway, it gives you a bit of a picture of what I'm saying here. Eris has really that potential to dethrone all kinds of gods and throw ideologies from their pedestals, you name it, destroy lies. So Mercury is the planet of mental powers, of our thinking, of communicating. So this combination of Eris and Mercury makes us more critical, questioning, looking behind appearances. Our mind gets really sharp. Because Eris, as I said, is the awakener. and gives us courage to take big leaps. And then there's Pallas in there too, Pallas Athene, the asteroid of intelligence. Pallas Athene carries the scale and the sword. She stands for justice and is very scientific, very left brain, logical, step-by-step, methodological. Yes, I guess I said that right. Anyway. And then, again, still in the heliocentric, as you see on the chart beside, Mercury, Pallas, and Aries form an exact trine to Mars, 120 degrees to Mars in Leo. And this is, again, a great support of willpower, of forceful courage to approach, to dare to speak up and share what we have come to understand. Then, the story is not over yet.